Returning to our top story, the US Defence Secretary has condemned a video which appears to show American Marines urinating on the bodies of Taliban fighters. For more, Executive Director of the Centre for International Policy William Goodfellow joins us now from Washington. Mr Goodfellow, good morning. We've heard the very stern condemnations from both Leon Panetta and Hillary Clinton over the past few hours. But would authorities in America fear that this sort of conduct is much more widespread on the ground in Afghanistan?
It's our whole 10-year war has just been fraught with bad news, and this is just a blip. Let's hope that it doesn't derail efforts to try to negotiate an end. Things are very, very difficult. I pity the forces, Australian as well as American, who are fighting. There's no clear enemy. They're being killed by these roadside bombs. It's very, very difficult. And my feeling is that we, the United States, and with the NATO allies and Australia, need to find a way to speed up the negotiations and speed up the drawdown. And I'm encouraged by what I've read in the last couple of days that the State Department, at least, is out front trying to negotiate a settlement that will get the United States out.
We'll get on to the peace process in just a moment, but it'd be fairly natural for various Taliban fighters to seek revenge for this sort of action, wouldn't it?
Yes. Well, it's hard to imagine what more they would do, and the bombings have been, it's really brutal. I was in Kabul in August, and the British consular office was bombed, and it's just what it showed that the Taliban have the initiative in terms of being able to strike almost anywhere. They've taken some losses in military losses, but they still can strike almost anywhere. And it's a new national intelligence estimate came out yesterday. It hasn't been made public, but it makes it clear this is stalemate, that the military gains are very, very fragile and could be reversed, and probably will be reversed once the United States leaves. So it's just a very, very difficult situation for the troops and of course for the Afghans who live there.
The Americans, as are the Australians and every other member of the coalition, there are trying to win the hearts and minds of Afghans as they hopefully push towards that peace process. But incidents like the one we're reporting on this morning will do anything but.
I wouldn't get too excited about that. I think a much bigger problem is the Karzai government that we're backing and some of the allies from what used to be called the Northern Alliance. Some of these people are, they're involved in drug dealing, money laundering, murder. Many of them, such as General Dostrum, should probably be at The Hague rather than be pardoners of the Karzai government. The biggest problem, I think, is the corruption and the incompetence and the sort of predatory nature of the security forces that we're supporting. And that's one of the major reasons that people have been driven towards the Taliban. They certainly don't like the Taliban. There's no good choices in Afghanistan right now, unfortunately.
The Taliban leadership is saying this incident won't derail those peace talks. You've been on the ground there, as you've mentioned, William Goodfellow. What impression do you get about the genuineness of the Taliban outreach towards the Americans, and how confident are you the talks, the very nascent talks at this stage, but the talks will result in a lasting peace agreement?
Oh, that's a tough question. I'm not optimistic, but I think we have to move forward. The Taliban, they still believe that they ultimately will prevail, at least in their areas, in the Pashtun-dominated areas, both sides of the Durand line in Pakistan and Afghanistan, and they're probably right. I don't think they're going to take over the country. That I don't think will happen. I think we can prevent that. But there are so many obstacles ahead to negotiations. One of the problems, of course, is the Northern Alliance people, the Tajiks and Uzbeks and the Northern Alliance, hate the Taliban. And the last thing in the world they want is a peace agreement that includes the Taliban in a government. And of course, people around Karzai are getting extremely rich, extremely rich. And a peace agreement would mean an end to this gravy train. And so they have a huge disincentive not to end the war. So there's an awful lot of it. And to add to the problems, Pakistan and to a lesser extent Iran are enabling the Taliban. The Pakistanis are funding them, directing them, giving them a home base. And as long as that happens, there's simply no way that the the international forces can defeat the Taliban as long as they get support from Pakistan, and to a lesser extent, as I say, from Iran. Iran is supporting them only because it's enemy of my enemy is my friend, because it's a way to get back at the Americans. But Pakistan is an even bigger problem than the Taliban.
And finally, William Goodfellow, given all of those very serious challenges you've just outlined, would there be any second thoughts in the US military about the timetable, the pace of the US with a drawdown from Afghanistan over the next 12 months or so?
Well, I think that the military always likes to win. They see a negotiated settlement as a stalemate and not a win. The military like to win, and their argument has always been that we have to kill more Taliban, kill enough Taliban so that we've degraded their fighting ability, and then they will be forced to come to the negotiating table basically as a surrender. And I don't think that's going to happen. I'm very pleased that the State Department and the diplomats are taking the lead right now, which I think is what has to happen, not the military. The State Department, where we have diplomats, will negotiate a settlement. I'm very pleased that Hillary Clinton has committed herself to this. And ultimately, we know that it is going to end with a political settlement. It will. It's a 32-year civil war. There's no way you can kill 39,000 Pashtuns, or 39 million, I should say, Pashtuns on both sides of the border. It will end, and whether it ends in a negotiated settlement in 2014 or 2024, there will have to be a negotiated settlement.
William Goodfellow from the Centre for International Policy, thank you very much for your insights this morning.
Thank you, and good morning to you.